Max is led up to the only elevated building in town where he's introduced to Tina Turner, the leader of Bartertown. I'm going to only refer to her as Tina Turner because that's essentially her function in the film anyway. She was relatively famous at the time, I guess, and they just wanted to cram in a big name to sell their movie and guarantee money. She was nothing but a marketing tactic. You can see she's just as prominent as Mel Gibson on the poster they used to market the film, and they even had her record a meandering Mad Max song and had her in her character's costume for the music video. The song was pretty much instantly forgotten. Further proving that they didn't care as long as it was a star, they just call her character Auntie for no explained reason. Aunt insert famous person here. And I have nothing to call Tina Turner other than the leader of Bartertown, because they never explain her position. What does she do here? Is she the founder? Was she elected to some position by the residents? We are given no fucking clue other than her saying,
"Look around, mister. All this I built. Up to my armpits in blood and shit. Where there was desert, now there's a town."
Just before she enters the room though, there's a hilariously pointless shot of a sax player. The camera slowly zooms in on his back for no reason, and when it reaches him, he turns around looking like something straight out of Tim and Eric. Clearly the point of this shot is to show off his blind eyes, but why? What relevance does this have to the plot? None. Easily a scene that could have been an outtake, but I guess they needed to fill this piece of shit movie out. Tina Turner enters the room and initiates a conversation that's ultimately just as pointless as the blindness of the sax player. She asks Max what he used to be, and he tells her,
"I was a car driver."
"Oh really? You were a cop driver?" "Yeah dude, it's implied you drove a car when you were a cop." "Cool story, buddy." Why did he need to say driver? What else do you want to tell her? That you were an eater? A breather? So Aunt Famous Bitch gives some more pointless dialogue than takes a bite out of her apple, and that signals the other men in the room to attack Max. Then a character, who for some reason was given a name, Iron Bar, strangles Max with a net. Max is able to cut the net with a secret knife and a fly swatter he's been carrying around. Wait, he was going to meet their leader? Shouldn't you probably make sure a strange man doesn't have strange possessions on him when he's going to meet your person of interest in a secluded place? Why does this man need a fly swatter in this room not cross anyone's mind? Doesn't matter, I guess, like everything else in this film. So Max hits Iron Bar in the face several times with some terrible stunt work combined with some pretty bad camera technique, and then throws him out of a 3-story tall building. So clearly he's dead. Oh wait, he isn't. I'm just gonna call him Wile E. Coyote from this point on, because anytime he gets involved, the movie devolves into an episode of Looney Tunes. You'll definitely see what I mean as this goes on. So Tina Turner reveals that what just happened was an audition, a test to see how capable he is in a fight, and she finally starts to explain the job. There's a giant man who acts as the body for an apparently highly intelligent dwarf that for some reason can't speak his native language remotely well.
Who run Bartertown?
Damn it, I told you no more embargoes.
More blaster.
They call themselves Master and Blaster. Now Tina Turner's problem is, Bartertown gets its fuel by processing pig shit into methane gas. But only Master knows how to do this, and since he controls whether or not the town gets power to operate, they have the most influence in Bartertown. Tina Turner wants Max to kill the giant man who acts as the body for the dwarf with all the brains. The goal in doing this is so convoluted and pointless, it's fucking mind-boggling. They want Max to kill him presumably because they don't want the populace to know that Tina Turner is willing to do shady shit for power. But what do they plan to do when the giant man is dead? Force the dwarf to work against his will by threatening his life? If they are willing to kill him for not making the methane, then why don't they just kill the giant themselves? They have guns, he doesn't. Whether or not the giant man is alive, they're in the same situation, which is the dwarf refusing to do work unless he's acknowledged as the master of Bartertown.
No more methane! This place finished!
They accomplish literally nothing from having Max kill the giant man Blaster, yet it's the entire plot of the first third of this movie. Is your mind fucking blown yet? Because it's hurting mine just to talk about it. Later, Tina Turner explains that Bartertown's system of settling disputes in public is the Thunderdome, a big wrestling ring with impractical rules like being strapped to bungee cords and placing chainsaws at the top of the cage. Thunderdome is their answer to stopping killings from happening in the street. If you have a problem with someone that's worth killing them over, you challenge them to the Thunderdome. If you kill someone outside of Thunderdome, you're in prison for life helping make methane, or you're executed. Wait a minute, but what if Max failed the audition earlier? What if he didn't dodge that arrow? And what if the axe cut him open? Then they would have just killed a man in public, entirely defeating the purpose of trying to get someone to fight in the Thunderdome. If they were willing to risk killing Max, why don't they just go kill the giant man? Why don't I just kill myself for having watched this entire movie past this point? Later that night, Max confronts Master and Blaster in front of a large audience. The giant man Blaster grabs Max by the throat, and for some contrived reason, Master starts counting down to 3 for him to break Max's neck. Then he's interrupted by Wile E. Coyote giving the best delivery of any line in any movie ever.
Master Blaster! Listen to the law!
I guess anytime Thunderdome is about to come into play, society devolves into the WWE with over-top announcers and all. Even Tina Turner joins in on the shenanigans.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Then a man who they apparently keep around town just to make absurd announcements introduces Blaster and Max into the Thunderdome.
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Blaster!
Then both characters are strapped on the bungee cords and prepared to be launched at each other to engage what is possibly the most hilariously awful fight scene in movie history. They connect in the middle and just start flailing around in circles. Now this absurd premise for a fight could work in the right context, but this story gives us nothing to stress over. What are the stakes? We've already established that no matter what, Tina Turner can do what she wants with Master Blaster, because Master's brain and willingness to work for the town are the only thing in question. It doesn't matter how strong Blaster is or how alive he is. If they want to force Master to work, they can do it. Either Max, a character we know nothing about and has done nothing the entire film, dies, or Blaster dies, allowing Tina Turner, a woman we also know little to nothing about, do something she could have done whether or not this fight happened. Either this man with no name dies and nothing happens, or Blaster dies and nothing happens. What compelling build-up for such a spectacular fight scene. So they bounce around like idiots on the bungee cords until they both grab weapons, and Max's weapon being a chainsaw. Now they could have given them any weapon. Why did they give them a weapon that uses gasoline? You know, in a universe where the collapse of society was caused by a lack of gasoline, and in a town where the main conflict of interest is the production of gasoline, yeah, let's just throw gas-powered weapons in the arena. Sounds good. So finally this embarrassing fight sequence is stopped by Max blowing into a whistle that somehow hurts Blaster. I think what they're going for is that since he's wearing that big, impractical, stupid-ass helmet, the sound is echoing for him. But why does the crowd shouting not hurt his head? He only has sensitive ears for tiny whistles? Okay, sure. Then Max picks up a mallet and knocks Blaster on the ground, also knocking his helmet off. Just as Max is about to kill him, he sees the smiling face of a mentally handicapped person. Because apparently retarded people don't feel pain. They just smile when they've been smacked in the head with a giant club. It's hard to decide who's more retarded though, the big dummy Blaster or Max. In the previous films, he's been ready to let women and children get slaughtered just so he could get some gasoline. And even if you ignore those movies, he agreed to kill a random man he knows nothing about just for some gasoline.
Today is necessary to kill a man. What do you say?
What do you pay?
Both versions of the character are only worried about themselves and willing to kill for resources. But knowing he's going to be killed himself if he does nothing, he breaks the rules of Thunderdome, essentially sacrificing himself, just to save the man he was just going to kill. In case all this wasn't bad enough for him, he makes sure to condemn himself even further by breaking one of the rules Tina Turner gave him. He looks directly at her and says,
"This wasn't part of the deal."
Deal? What do you mean, deal?
"Wow, Max, You're a pretty stupid guy for someone who's been adjusting to the wasteland for 20 years. How'd you live this long? Is it possible that it's because you're living in a fucking cartoon? So of course Master is outraged by the conspiring of Tina Turner and says he's going to stop making methane. But like I've brought up several times in this review, it doesn't matter, and Wile E. Coyote just murders Blaster in front of the entire town. Why didn't they just do this in the first place if they didn't give a fuck? Why was Max even involved? Everybody watching the Thunderdome chants to let Max go because Blaster is dead, and the rules are 2 retards enter, 1 retard leaves. For no understandable reason, Tina Turner jumps down and starts arguing that since Max broke a deal, he needs to spin a stupid wheel that chooses a punishment for him. Why is she doing this? She just got everything she wanted. She murdered Blaster in front of everybody and nobody batted an eye. Nobody cared. Why does she need to hurt Max? The only possible answer is that she's spiteful and just mad he didn't do what she told him. She gains literally nothing from hurting him. And this is a complete contradiction to what she does at the end of the movie, making the ending even worse than it already is. We'll come back to that when we get there though, so just keep this all in mind.
Justice is only a roll of the dice, a flip of the coin, a turn of the wheel.
How fitting that Max's next obstacle will be decided by a random wheel of possible events. Since nobody's motivations make any sense in this movie anyway, why not just spin a wheel and see where the fucker ends up? The wheel lands on some retarded made-up word that just means Max will be banished into the desert with nothing on him. And Tina Turner for some reason appears really excited. Couldn't she have just decided to do that herself without some retarded wheel? She already proved she can do whatever the fuck she wants by killing Blaster, so why can't she just kick Max out of Bartertown? Why can't I just stop watching this shitty movie?